Hello and welcome to another Magenta Academy video. So a few weeks ago we ran our annual Magenta Academy live event. As you can see from on screen, we ran it at the Manufacturing Technology Centre in Coventry. Really good day, but we appreciate not everybody could make that particular day. So what we decided to do is to collate all of the information in a series of videos and make them available to everybody so nobody misses out. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joseph Hall. I'm a technical consultant here at Magenta Solutions, and I'm going to be taking you through assembly enhancements and drawing enhancements for Autodesk Inventor 2016. So we'll start off with the assembly enhancements. Autodesk have made a series of enhancements to the assembly environment, so both assembly and presentation modes have been looked at. From an assembly enhancements perspective, we've got the interference analysis has been improved. So on the Inspect tab, the Analyze Interference icon in the top left-hand corner of the dialog box of the ribbon, now you have the ability to select items using a window selection. So rather than individually clicking on components, you can now use window or crossing selection, so left to right or right to left, to select the components that you would like to analyze interference between. You also have the ability, when you're selecting those interferences in the drop-down list, you can pick them and Inventor will then zoom in on those specified interferences. So Inventor will zoom in on a particular area and it will highlight to us whether or not there are any interferences between components and show me where they are. So usability has been enhanced for that. Usability of duplicating or duplicating components within the software as well. So if ever you need to pattern components, we've got the ability to have a mid-plane pattern. So previous versions of the software, if you wanted to pattern something, pattern a component in an assembly, you'd have to select the furthest one on the left or the furthest one on the right. Now you can select the center one and use the mid-plane pattern to pattern an assembly or part, if you like, symmetrically around about an original reference. So other generic enhancements that we've had incorporated into assemblies, they've restored the bomb command in the ribbon. So I know there was a little bit of an upheaval when they decided to move the bill of materials icon from the home assembly tab. They moved it onto the Manage tab, I believe. It's now back onto the Home tab, so when you're in an assembly, on your Assemble tab, you will see Bill of Materials in a little Manage panel. Content Center upgrades. Hopefully everybody listening uses the Content Center. Content Center has been upgraded, so there's been some content corrections that have been made, and they've updated the max length settings for structural steel. Replace components. So if you were to select a component, right click and go to component replace. Previously you could only replace one component or replace all the components. Now you have the ability to select multiple components of the same type, right click, component replace, and replace those components. So you can replace 2 or 3 of something rather than just one or all of them. And the final point on here is a really nice touch. So Sketch Doctor or component solver. So if you have a failed constraint, the dialog box that pops up now gives you the ability to select multiple constraints that are sick or delete all sick constraints all in one go. So you open an assembly, it's falling over. There's lots of constraints that are falling over, and I'm sure we've been in a situation where it's sometimes quicker to actually just delete all the constraints and start again. Now you have the ability to just delete all sick constraints using the Sketch Doctor commands. Presentation mode. So presentation mode has needed an overhaul, if I'm honest. What they've now decided to do, if anyone is familiar watching this video with direct editing, the direct editing pilot, the little 3D coordinate system that you get with direct editing, that's now available for you to use in presentation mode. So it makes presentation mode a lot simpler, a lot more straightforward, a lot slicker to use. You can also select items using a window selection or component filters if you need to. You can reassociate design view representation, so you have the ability, if you have a design view, maybe an explicit explode review, explode design representation in your assembly. You can import that into Inventor presentation mode. If you start pulling things apart, maybe removing it, exploding your components, if you make a change to that design representation in the assembly file, that change is then reflected in your presentation mode, in your presentation view. So let's have a quick demonstration of this. Let's take you through presentation modes. So we're going to open something up, and we're going to open something up from our assembly file. So in the assembly file, if we go to the right folder, we've got a small little assembly, and this works really well just to show you the enhancements that we're talking about here, what we're actually referring to. So I've got my assembly here. If I want to check for interferences between them, so we know we can go to manage, so we can go to inspect, and we can go to analyze interference. Previous versions of the software, it was quite select manually individual components. Now we can just drag a box, window or crossing selection around all the components, and then I can click OK. It will then show me and highlight all of the interferences. So a total volume of 6 interferences were detected, with the total volume interference of 372. Click on the arrows. If I select one of them or double click on them, Inventor will now zoom in on that particular area to highlight to me that is the interference. If I double click on another, it will zoom out and zoom to different areas of the model to show me that there is an interference on the model of this particular volume here. I can then click reset, which then puts me back to that default view, and OK, which then sort of turns that view off, if you like. So it's a little bit easier to be able to see those interferences on the model, see what we're looking at, see how we can work with them. So that's the interferences, just to show you that it does exist. If I select a component, or first on the assemble, I can go to pattern, and if I select rectangular pattern, there is the option to rectangularly pattern. So if I select maybe that as my direction reference, I can go both ways, maybe make 5 of them that are 50 mm apart, just so you can see. There you go. So you can have the symmetric option. Obviously this doesn't make sense what I'm doing, but I'm just using it to show the example that we have the symmetric option or the mid-plane option for our pattern. Also point out at the top of the screen, as mentioned, bill of materials is back here in the assemble tab under manage. It does still reside under manage, under manage in the manage panel if you prefer, or if you've got used to going there now, but they have moved it back into here, so it's nice and easy for you to find. So realistically, that was all I wanted to show you assembly wise. We're now going to dip into a presentation mode, so I'm going to leave the file open. I'm going to create a new presentation file. So new presentation file, nothing dissimilar here, still create a view. Those of us that aren't aware, you can right-click, you can select on the little drop-down list, and you can browse the Vault and open a file from Vault, as opposed to just opening up a file that already exists. I already have one open at the moment, so I'm going to use this particular assembly. I can go into options, and here is where we can go into which design representation view that I want and whether or not it's going to be associative. There is an auto explode, so again an enhancement made to the auto explode tool. Auto explode previously only had one level, and you just exploded that out. Auto explode one level or all levels works really nicely as a good starting point. You can define how the component default trails are. You can set a length, so someone might explode that out by 50, for example, to start with. And if I just sort of zoom out, this is kind of what I'm going to get from this if I explode this out. So it's kind of taken all the components. It gives me a half decent starting point, let's be honest. Works exceptionally well, as you probably picked up, with cylindrical components. It works much better with cylindrical references and aligning axes for exploding things, as opposed to more, I suppose, linear constraints that we might have to apply between two faces. So it can give you a good starting point for this particular example. It's not what I'm looking for, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to create another one. This time I'm going to leave auto explode off, and I'm going to select and start again with my assembly. So we start again, put the assembly in, we'll just have a look at it and spin it around and see if it's what we want. It's exactly where we need to be. So we'll get it into a position, and then we're going to tweak components. So I can tweak components at the top, I can tweak components on the right mouse button. Now we get, we still have to define realistically our movement reference, but now selecting components to move out, we now get a nice 3D graphic, 3D pilot to say I want to move this one and this one, and I want to drag them up that way by 100 millimeters, for example. So it's really, really easy for me to pick those components and move them out. I might then want to apply that, and I might want to then pick those the washer, 2 washers, and move those up by, I don't know, 50 or something like that. Nice and easy for me to pick those and move them out. I could continue to do this, so I could continue to move these wherever I needed to. So let's go in here. Let's tweak components. I want to move this, and I want to move them out, so I could move those out to a set distance, minus 100 again. If I click on another component without clicking apply, just to make you aware, it will jump that component out as well. That's not too bad, so I'll leave that kind of where it is. So we could select the bottom piece and pull that out. That could come out by 50 and accept it. And each time I'm just accepting the new position of the components. We can choose additional components if we need to, so I might drag these out by maybe minus 75, and I can apply those. I might select these two, and I might drag these out. It's really, you can, I'm highlighting here, I suppose, the ease of use of how easy this is to do, and that's realistically all that I wanted to get across to you during this demonstration. The creation of these files now is far more straightforward than it used to be. It's a lot easier to be able to just sort of spin things around and have a look and manipulate them. So put that at 10. So again, we could choose to save this, we could choose to publish a video of this if we needed to. So all of that functionality that we had to be able to create animations and playbacks and things like that will all work. So if I play this back now, it will work the way that I want it to. I can specify cameras in new positions, but it's just a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more fluid than it used to be. So the enhancements they've made to this should ideally make everybody's life that little bit easier for when we're creating and needing to create these presentation files, because it's just that bit slicker, that bit more straightforward, and it doesn't have a tired looking dialog box. As far as presentation modes are concerned, that's how easy it is. That was really what I wanted to highlight, how easy that is now to create things. We'll check it back into the vault system as we finished with it. So as far as assembly enhancements are concerned, that's what we're going to run through. I really wanted to highlight the drawing enhancements to you. So the drawing enhancements made to 2016 are far superior to than what we had in 2015. So 2016 sees the introduction of what Autodesk are calling speed documentation. So speed documentation is the ability to right-click on a component or an assembly in the model browser and create a drawing view from there. So we don't have to go file new drawing using this template. Okay, now it's just a case of create a drawing view using that template and we're away and it's straight in. What's dynamic about this is that each view has been given its own individual view cube. So each view is given its own individual view cube for us to enable us to manipulate that view in any which way that we like. So we could rotate it 90 degrees. If there are any projected views, they will also update. Scaling is a lot quicker, so it's all a bit slicker and easier to be able to manipulate things. So there you can see on the, if you've got create drawing view on third down from the list on the left hand side, here we go, create drawing view on the right mouse button, and then the viewing window that I'm going to demonstrate to you in a moment, that you can see we can create projection views, we can scale from here, and it's really, each individual view is given its own view cube. So now we don't have to worry so much about creating a brand new part, making sure that front is front and top is top and right is right, because then when we go through to a drawing, you simply just select the view orientation that you want and it creates the view for you. So it's really, really easy. So speed documentation enhancements, other things that we've added into speed documentation here. So component transparency settings. So now you don't have to have a component that is invisible or turned off. If you have something that's transparent, slightly transparent, there is a component transparency setting available. Right click on the component and turn on transparency. Plenty of options have been added to the balloons and the support for creation and balloons. So you can now align balloons to an edge. There are alignment previews. You can lock the behavior with control selection. So if you lock, you can choose to lock how they behave. And auto balloon now behaves a lot more sensibly, if you like. So if you look at the image at the bottom of the screen here, I'm sure we've been in a situation previously where we've created using auto balloon and auto ballooned up a drawing, and it has added all the balloons, but we've got these leader lines that come all the way across the model, all over it. Now what they've done with auto balloon is they've made it a little bit more sensible. So if I place all my balloons on the side of a model, now what Inventor will do is it'll look for the closest component that represents that balloon. So we're not going all the way across anymore to select the whole location for where this is going to be. It's a lot slicker, a lot tidier, a lot easier to work with. Other drawing enhancements, other things that we've added in, so text editing. Now you get a real dynamic preview of actually the text that you're typing in. So if you type something in, you will see that text appear on the sheet before you click OK and close this dialog box. Bullets and numbering, so they've added more Word functionality, if you like, Microsoft Word functionality. Added additional symbols in. They've also added the ability to copy and paste things from Word, as well as the strike through option. So we can now take things from Word, copy and paste them. A little similar to the Autodesk, to the AutoCAD text functionality that we had in. And again, a little bit more small little things that might save you lots of time. Additional enhancements to drawings along the lines of leader annotation, rotating the text and the initial view scale in the title block as well. So let's give you a quick demonstration of drawing enhancements within Inventor 2016. So I've got an assembly here, so it's a fairly sizable assembly. There's a few components in it, and traditionally if I wanted to create a drawing, I'd be going up to the top of the screen, I'd be clicking on drawing, and I'd be working my way through that way. If I select the view at the top, I can right click, I can say create a drawing view. I can then choose from one of many templates, and notice we've got all of the templates across the top of the screen. I'm just going to go for my default standard IDW. And it will then take me straight into drawings using that template and give me my view. So my view here is enabling me to manipulate this, move it left and right, look at a different perspective. I can also create projection views, top and side. I could produce an ISO if I wanted to. And if I now manipulate my view cube, so if I say this is actually the front view, what then happens is all the other views will move accordingly. So we can go left view if that's the right view. Left looks a little bit more left or right, maybe. We'll go left or right, we'll have a look. Either one works fine. If I now want to scale it, what I can do is hover over that view cube and just drag and scale it. I can scale it up. That's changing the scale factor in here. I can then manipulate the view. That will then change all the other views. So it's really, really quick. You get a nice dialog box, a bit smaller than the older one. But you can see it's all dependent on the view cube. If I click OK, that'll then create me my drawing views. And then when that's finished, what I then get, if I want to select a different view, maybe this is going to be our ISO view, so we want it to look slightly different orientation, we can right click, we can view that in perspective, I can move it out, maybe rescale it to get a different scale factor for this particular view. So you can see that's really, really easy to be able to manipulate, pick a different view, pick a different orientation, see what we've got. So maybe go in that view, we'll leave it as perspective, or we could right click and go custom view orientation. So just like we could before, I might want to zoom in on a particular area, I might want it in perspective, and because I might want to display this as best as possible, because in my documentation, making sure we've got the best possible view for the information that we want, and you can see what we get. We might have it as shaded, and then when we're finished we can click OK. So that's kind of placing views. That was how quick and easy it is to place those views. If I want a new sheet of this drawing, I might do a similar sort of thing, maybe go ISO, and then scale this up. And if I need to then create documentation of this, we're going to put some balloons on here. So we'll create the drawing, we'll go to annotate, and really quickly knock in a parts list of this component. So we'll go parts list. Yes, we can drop it in. Multiple size parts list is fine. Make sure everything's checked out so we can see it all. If we've got all the components, obviously we've got our parts list on this side of the drawing sheet, so we might need to either have a larger drawing sheet, or we might then need to make sure all our balloons can fit at the top of the screen. So if we go on balloon, we can auto balloon that view, all of the components that we want to select. Placement, again, we've got a horizontal placement. Let's change the offset and make sure these are nice and cozy together. Again, if they won't fit, they won't fit. That's kind of the way that it works. But at least when I drop them in, what you then get is a more intelligent placement of these components. So you can now see everything is being placed relevant to where it is. I haven't got any of these going all the way down here to select this. These components here have selected the most local copy as opposed to moving them all the way down. If I want to move any of these, obviously they might not be where I want them. I can select them and just drag them to a new position. I could also right click and I could align them. So I could align them to an edge if I wanted to. So I could maybe align all these components to the edge to maybe make it a little bit tidier. I know I've just dragged these across, but it's just to show you the principle of being able to apply them and manipulate them. So as far as creating drawings is concerned, we have the ability now, if I was to put some additional leader text on here, so maybe create and continue. This is some, you can see there's the preview that's appearing on screen at the moment. So let's put something like Magenta Academy Live videos. So you can see it's dynamically giving me that text as I'm typing it in the box. We've got the addition of some symbols in here as well if I need to. So I've got character mapping, so that enables me to go in to the character map and basically choose whatever it is that I want from any of the symbols that you can see there. Don't forget, we can still drop in properties from the model, properties from the drawing, and from the drawing sheet metal properties as well. Strike through is an option, so I can select the geometry and I can strike through if I need to have anything like so. And if I then want to manipulate that view, I can simply click, and this is the automatic rotation around 90 degrees we're talking about. So if I'm manipulating this view to maybe look here, I might decide that when I manipulate the text I need it to be displayed there, which is really cool, really easy to do. I can just drop it in, maybe even position this wherever I need to. So speed documentation, the main enhancement here is what I've shown you on sheet 1, the really quick ability that we have to click on change a drawing sheet, and it will change everything else. So in this instance, if I change that and click OK, now it's going to say everything else has changed, so I need to update it, and it will move these two views because they are dependent as well, and they all then update. So having this ability to create this documentation really quickly, given the prompts, will save you a lot of time. It now makes drawings a little slicker. Creating technical documentations of all of our parts and assemblies is a really important part of the process. Hopefully these enhancements have now made this part of the process a little less laborious. Some people don't find this sort of thing terribly exciting. So this should kind of ease that and make it a bit slicker and a bit quicker to work with. So as far as this particular video is concerned, that's us just about done. There will be more videos running through the sheet metal enhancements, advanced manufacturing as we've decided to call that section, and AnyCAD as well. So please make sure that you stay tuned and keep up to date with those videos. But for me, that's just about done for today. Thank you very much.